Maya sat in the back of the classroom, as invisible as the ticking clock on the wall, until one day her teacher decided to call her out, mocking her silence. Little did he know, she was about to make the loudest statement of all. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. Let's dive in. The bell rang, signaling the start of the day. The echo reverberated through the hallways, filling the classroom with a sense of routine. Students shuffled into their seats, bags slung over shoulders, some chatting eagerly, others staring out of the windows, lost in thought. Among them sat Maya, a girl barely noticeable at the back of the class. Always quiet, always detached. Maya wasn't the kind of student teachers paid much attention to. Her clothes were plain, her hair always tied up in a simple ponytail, and her eyes often hidden behind thick glasses. She never raised her hand, never engaged in group discussions, and when called upon, her voice was a mere whisper. Most teachers assumed she was just another average student, blending into the background, too shy or uninterested to make a mark. But Mr. Lawrence, the school's literature teacher, had had enough. He prided himself on his ability to bring out the best in students, to push them beyond their comfort zones. And Maya? He saw her silence as laziness, as a lack of effort. One afternoon, after weeks of unnoticed frustration, he decided to confront her during class. "Maya," he called, his voice cutting through the hum of the room. "Can you read the next passage?" Maya, startled, glanced up from her book, her face flushing red. She stammered, I'd rather not." Mr. Lawrence folded his arms, a small condescending smile creeping onto his face. "Come on, Maya, it's not that hard. You've been sitting back there for weeks doing the bare minimum. Don't you think it's time you contributed something to this class?" The room grew quiet. All eyes turned to Maya, who sat frozen in her seat. Mr. Lawrence's words hung heavy in the air, a challenge laced with sarcasm. Maya's hands gripped the edges of her desk, her knuckles turning white. I'll pass," she muttered, barely audible. Mr. Lawrence shook his head, clearly unimpressed. "You know, Maya, if you don't start speaking up, you're not going to get very far in life. You can't just float through school and expect everything to be handed to you." He laughed slightly, his tone mocking. "What, are you waiting for a full ride to some prestigious university? It doesn't work like that." The class chuckled, some nervously, others in genuine amusement. Maya, however, didn't respond. She kept her head down, avoiding Mr. Lawrence's gaze, wishing more than anything that she could disappear. As the weeks passed, Mr. Lawrence continued to call on her, hoping to break her silence. He believed she was simply unmotivated and uninterested, and he often made side comments, reinforcing this idea in front of the class. Maya became the student everyone pitied or teased behind her back. But what no one knew was that Maya wasn't unmotivated. She wasn't uninterested. In fact, Maya was hiding something from everyone, something she had been keeping to herself for a long time. It wasn't that she couldn't speak up, it was that she didn't see the point in doing so. For Maya, school was a place to observe, to learn in silence, and to wait. Months passed and the end of the year approached. The seniors were abuzz with excitement as college acceptance letters began to trickle in. One by one, students shared their news, boasting about where they had been accepted. Mr. Lawrence, as always, was at the center of it all, congratulating students and encouraging those who hadn't yet received word. Then, one afternoon, during what seemed like a typical class, an email notification popped up on Maya's laptop. Her heart skipped a beat as she clicked on the message, her eyes scanning the screen, her breath caught in her throat. "Congratulations. We are pleased to offer you a full scholarship to..." Maya read the words over and over, her mind spinning. She couldn't believe it. A full-ride scholarship to one of the most prestigious universities in the world. It was a dream she had never dared to speak aloud, not even to her parents. She was pulled from her thoughts when Mr. Lawrence's voice broke through. "Maya, you seem distracted. Care to share what's so interesting on your screen?" The class snickered again, but this time Maya didn't shrink back. She stood up, her legs slightly shaky but firm, and walked to the front of the room, laptop in hand. The students watched her with curiosity, expecting another awkward, stammered response. Mr. Lawrence raised an eyebrow, clearly amused by her sudden movement. Maya stood in front of him, her face calm, her voice steady for the first time all year. I just wanted to let you know, she said softly, holding out her laptop, that I got a full ride to Harvard. The room went silent. Dead silent. Mr. Lawrence stared at her, his expression shifting from disbelief to confusion to outright shock. He took the laptop from her, his eyes quickly scanning the screen. And there it was, in bold letters, a full scholarship to one of the top universities in the world. He blinked, unable to comprehend what he was reading. You, he stammered, glancing back at Maya. Harvard? Maya nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, not just as the quiet girl at the back of the room, but as someone who had worked hard, who had achieved something extraordinary. The class, still in stunned silence, slowly began to clap. It started with one student, then another, until the entire room was filled with applause. Maya stood there, her heart swelling with pride as Miss Strang. Lawrence handed her back the laptop, his face pale, his smug attitude gone. Well, he said quietly, clearing his throat, I guess I was wrong about you. Maya looked him in the eyes, her voice soft but confident. It's okay. Sometimes people make assumptions when they don't know the full story. And with that, she returned to her seat, the room still buzzing with awe and disbelief. The rest of the day passed in a blur, but for Maya, everything had changed. The weight of silence she had carried for so long was lifted, and she no longer felt the need to hide who she truly was. In the weeks that followed, word spread quickly about Maya's acceptance. Teachers who had once overlooked her now praised her intelligence, and students who had once teased her now treated her with newfound respect. But Maya didn't let the sudden attention affect her. She remained the same, quiet, thoughtful, and focused on what truly mattered. As the school year came to a close and graduation loomed on the horizon, Maya found herself reflecting on everything that had happened. She realized that it wasn't about proving people wrong. It was about proving to herself that she was capable of achieving her dreams, no matter how many people doubted her along the way. On the day of graduation, as she walked across the stage to receive her diploma, Maya glanced out at the crowd. Her parents, beaming with pride, waved from the front row. And there, among the teachers, was Mr. Lawrence, clapping politely, his face unreadable. Maya smiled to herself, knowing that she had made it, not just to Harvard, but beyond the limitations that others had tried to place on her. She had found her voice, not in words, but in actions, and that was more powerful than anything she could have ever said. And as she walked off the stage, diploma in hand, she knew that this was only the beginning of her journey. A journey that no one could ever take away from her. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Click on the video now to watch. We appreciate your support, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.